Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress, and welcome to 2024. We're a couple weeks in by now. I hope that you have eased into a new year. I hope you had lots of rest during that little precious holiday time off with family. I love a new year. I think most entrepreneurs do. Like, we love to-do lists. We love thinking of new dreams. We love setting new goals. Like, I can't help myself, right? And I know some people are really good about saying new year, same me, or not wanting to set goals too high because you don't want to disappoint yourself or whatever. And I get all that, but I also love a good goal. Okay. I love, getting some new lists, dreaming some new dreams. It is very exciting for me. And I feel like it's exciting for you too. So I love the month of January. I just think it's like a fresh start. We've had our time of reflection last month and we know what's working, what's not working. Maybe some of you have been reflecting on your numbers. Oh gosh, we'll get to that in a little bit. And you just have some fresh new ideas for 2024. So this episode is to help you further develop those goals by using the alliteration SMART goal. So this is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And I'm going to add an extra one on there. I'm going to add sustainable. So that is not one of the official SMARTs, but I just added that S on there. Also, SMART goals was not developed by me. So this has been around since like the 80s. And this is just a really fun way to further detail your dreams and your goals for this year. And we'll have in the show notes the person who actually developed SMART goals. I think his name was Doran, Doran, I think, or Doran, I don't know. But we want to give credit where credit is due, but I just wanted to share this concept with you. I also have a free download that comes with this episode, and it'll be available throughout the month of January. If you want to dig into your goals and really get all this out on paper, this download is going to go through each of the letters of SMART goals and give you some journaling prompts to help you really fine tune your goals for 2024. I love this topic, as you know. So if you after you listen to this episode, you have some feedback for me or you want to share some of your goals, I would love to hear that. You can DM me on Instagram. Secrets of Bridal Seamstress is our handle on there, or you can reply to those emails that I sent. Like, I'm actually the one sending those emails. So you can click reply and share something with me, and I'd love to hear from you of what you have going for 2024. Okay, so I'm going to try to take the alliteration here and kind of hone it down to our little bridal seamstress world and give you some examples, according to our niche. So let's start with the S. The S stands for specific. I love a good specific goal because it helps it become more like attainable. I can think of specific steps to use instead of just this like vague dream. Although, there's a time and place for big, vague dreams that are kind of fun to daydream about. But once you put it on paper, we got to make this specific. So here's an example. Say if you write down in 2024, I want to create a better life for my family. That's a great goal, but it's also super vague. So for some of you, creating a better life for your family could mean that you need to be home more. Like, you want to be at the bus stop picking up your kids, or you want to have dinner together every night, or you just want to be home and not stressed as much. Like your presence at home brought a lot of stress to the household in 2023. So to create a better, home life for your family, that might mean that you are home, you're present, you're rested. That could be like, 5 specific goals in and of themselves within that dream of a better life for your family. But for some of you, creating a better life for your family could mean we need like $1,000 extra a month, or I need to make about $2,000 a month to offset the bills. Like, there's a lot of financial stress in the household. The kids are feeling it. My partner and I are feeling it. Like, I got to relieve this and I got to make more money. So again, those are several specific goals within themselves, because that could go into like budgeting, how you price out your clients. Maybe just starting the business is like the goal because you're thinking of the side hustle and like this is the year that you're going to do the thing, right? So keep it specific. Maybe like creating a better life for your family means you send your parents on a vacation. Like, that would make their life better, right? So that's a totally different goal, but that you have to save up for and plan for. but it's very specific. See how it's so different? So as you think about your goals for this year, what you might want to do is separate them into different categories. So you can have like home goals or personal goals, financial goals. Your financial goals can include the business and also like whatever the household income is, that could all be included in your financial goals. So my husband and I love this week. So I'm recording this between Christmas and New Year. So well, I don't even know what day it is. What day? Okay, I'll look at it's Wednesday, December 27th. Okay, I just had to look at my laptop for that. So this week is really fun for us because I love breaking down what we want to do, what we want to save for, what we want to give to. And like last night we talked about like our streaming platforms and how we can cut down on that, even just what our grocery budget is going to be. I'm sure for a lot of us that has had to fluctuate this past year. So those kind of topics are really fun for us. And so when we talk about our financial goals, we include like my income and his income. And so that'd probably be the same for you if you're thinking of like your household finances, right? Or you could have specific goals that are just your business finances, or you can be specific on what kind of work you want to take on in your business or who you'd serve. So all of these specific goals, you could have categories for the goals and then make them even more specific. If you're feeling overwhelmed, this is what the download is for. So if you click on that free download, these journaling prompts will come up, and this will really help you specify each of these goals that are coming to your mind as you're listening to the podcast right now. So you're thinking of your business, your clients, your family, your finances. Ooh. So this download will help you break it down into different categories and then go through this S.M.A.R.T with each of those goals. So it could be like a fun little project. Okay. So don't worry, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's normal, but we can make this actionable and easier, okay? All right, so you get that idea. Like when you're thinking of your goals, wherever they are, whatever category, try to be as specific as you can. It also helps your brain kind of like compartmentalize what you want to do without feeling super overwhelmed. Sometimes even, if I have like a long to-do list for work, like I have a lot of sewing to do, I will write down every little step that I have to do, whether it's like sewing in the hook and eye or, pressing the hems or whatever. Like I write down every step because when I see them in like small, really tiny increments, they seem more manageable. And that's how my brain works. You might hear that and feel like the last thing I want is to write down every little thing because then I'm going to feel overwhelmed. But I want you to kind of think of shrinking those dreams into small, attainable steps and being really specific. Put it into words. Like, how specific can you be with, like, why is it that you want to be home more if that's what's creating the better life for your family? What is it that you're envisioning, right? If you feel like adding income and adding monthly income to your household would, quote unquote, make your life better, spell that out. What does that really look like? Or whatever those goals are. I know I just touched on one. Get it very specific, and that will help your brain kind of divvy up the jobs that you have to get done. Okay, so that is step number one. Have your goals be as specific as possible. M stands for measurable. It's really important for us to have goals that are actually measurable, or else we like spiral into the loser fields, right? If you say, I want to make more money this year. Okay, well, there's always room to make more. Say if you make $1,000 extra in the month of January, and then it's like, okay, well, I still need to be making more. I still need to be making more. Well, technically, you already did make more. So, how much more do you actually want to make? I want to make $10,000 more this year than I made last year. Okay, that is measurable. Or I want to have this many more brides per month. That is measurable. You want one extra bride a month. That's easy to measure, right? Maybe you can measure your physical time at home or your physical time where you can just enjoy a book or enjoy spending time with your kids without looking at the clock and trying to rush out for a fitting or whatever. Like things that are measurable are super helpful to your psyche because it creates what's called self-efficacy. If you can look back on things that you've already accomplished and you can like the things that you've checked off your list, that's measurable, it's done, you accomplished it. What self-efficacy is it's telling yourself, hey, I did that. If I could complete that, I can also complete this next thing. So just as important as it is for us to have a vision and to think forward for our business, it's equally important for us to look back and recognize the things that we have accomplished, to have a measurement for things that we want to get done or pursue, because that is telling our brain, hey, guess what? You can do it. You get the things done, you accomplish your goals. Let's set some new goals because we know you're going to get it done. Okay, so that is the importance of having them be measurable. If they're just floating out in the universe, that could make you just go crazy. And I think for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we're working for ourselves. We don't have a boss to say, hey, good job, you accomplished this. Here's your next task. Oh, good, you did that. Okay, good job. Here's your next task. We are our own boss, and we're constantly telling ourselves new things to do, new ways that we don't measure up, new ways that like we're never going to get to the finish line, right? Why are we so good at being like psychos to ourselves? I don't know. So creating measurable steps is very, very important for just so many facets of your personal life, your psyche, your business, and again, that self-efficacy. A great way to do this is to create what we consider backwards goal planning. So we're actually doing that this month in our membership. And it's essentially saying, okay, if by December I want to have accomplished XYZ, I need to accomplish these previous steps by September. Okay, by July, I should have accomplished this much. If by March, I should have done this much. And by next week, this is what I should have done. So that we have this big goal that we want to do, we want to complete for the whole year of 2024, but you have to break all of those goals up into measurable steps. It also just keeps the pace. So you're not like, okay, I'm going to get there in December, but what are you doing in the meantime to get the things done in a steady Eddie pace, right? So backwards goal planning, you can Google that, or if you want to join our membership, that's what we're working on in the month of January. It's a great skill to hone in on. And I think a lot of women saw results after putting that in their business. We really focused on that during our retreat with Stephanie Booth. And so we're just turning that into like a video training this time around. But it's the same concept, and it's been a game changer for a lot of women. It's a game changer for me because I feel like, okay, there's a specific thing that I need to accomplish by this specific date, as opposed to just hoping it all turns out okay at the end of the year. Because I've done that before too, and it's not fun. All right, so keep it measurable, and that'll keep your sanity. Okay, moving on. Is it achievable? This sounds kind of laughable, but it's like, how many of you have said, oh, I was in the red this year, but next year I'm going to make $100,000. Okay. It happens more often than you think. We're like, yeah, I can do this. And actually, we set the bar super high to a point where like we can't get the stuff done. And then those loser feels come right back up. So, as important as it is to expand the horizon, right? Like dream big, also create those steps that are actually like doable, because if they're not doable, it's just going to be like a defeating feeling. I remember one year I had this like New Year's resolution to not eat chocolate all year, and I was like, what? I don't know why I was thinking that. Anyway, I was like a teenager, so whatever. I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, come Valentine's Day, it was over. I mean, February 14th, I had a box of chocolates, so I ate them and that was done. So that was not attainable. And like, it never would be attainable for me, right? I have a friend who did like no soda for a year. That wouldn't be attainable for me because I could like have like an IV of Sprite attached to my body at all times and I'd be fine. Like I love Sprite. I could never give up soda for the whole year. You know what I mean? So these things that like if you know these things about yourself, don't set yourself up for failure if like you know yourself. So those are just kind of like, silly examples of New Year's resolutions, but other things like business related, keep them attainable. So whether it's like your financial income, yes, set the bar high, but also be a little bit realistic. Like, okay, you want to get to six figures. Okay, cool. Well, if you were in the red this past year, it might be like a huge feat. You have a lot of things to get over. You have to like work on your mindset, work on your pricing, on different clients that come in. Like there's a lot of work to be done to get to that point. So what if you extend the deadline to 2 years? Okay, in 2 years, I'm going to make six figures. That gives you double the time to accomplish the same thing. This is not my own idea. This comes from John Acuff. One of the concepts that really stuck with me, well, the whole book is talking about how when you change your habits or you have goals, you're going to see success the smaller the changes that you make. So success comes with tiny changes or small things that you can add on to existing habits. So, things that you already do every day, what can you add on to those daily habits? You're more likely to accomplish those goals as opposed to like starting a brand new routine or like a brand new habit. They're atomic, so they're teeny tiny habits. But one thing that he said in this book that I was like, "Oh my goodness, that is awesome." If you when you set a goal, give yourself either double the time that you think that you'll need or cut the goal in half. So I'm just going to stick with this six-figure thing because I'm on a roll with it. So why change the example now? Okay. So say if you want to make, $100,000, if it's been very difficult to get to that point up until now, or maybe this is like a brand new idea for the year of 2024, how about you give yourself 2 years to make $100,000 or cut the goal in half. So $50,000 in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? This is if you're like starting from scratch, obviously. If this past year you've been making, 50,000, well, then you only have to make an additional 50,000 this year. So that's kind of like a totally different goal. But if you're starting from zero, that's what I'm saying. Okay. If you're starting from zero, give yourself either twice the time or cut the goal in half. And that kind of sounds dramatic. Like, wait, no, I could do this. Like, I remember when I was listening to the audiobook and I was like, what? I don't need to cut stuff in half. But then when I think back, it's like, oh, I actually do. We put so much pressure on ourselves to actually attain this huge goal in a short amount of time, and then when you don't get there, you just it's not motivating. I'll tell you. Okay, so make sure that your steps, your goals are actually achievable, and you're not setting yourself up for failure. And this is something that only you know about yourself. Like you know what is attainable for you. You know what's doable. You know what your tendencies are. You know what it is to push yourself, and then what it is to just like set yourself up for failure, so you kind of want to find that fine balance and be honest with yourself about the data and about the numbers up to this point. I know I'm kind of honing in on the money issue for achievable for the A in SMART goals, and there are so many other goals to consider beyond the money, and I get that, but it's just the example that I came up with, so I'm just going to stick with it. Okay, when it comes to money goals, we can feel super confident about it, and then we can feel like really defeated, like opposite ends of the spectrum real quick. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you kind of want to be just a little easy on your ego when you first get started. I don't know how else to say that, but it's okay, and have it maybe instead of thinking of this grand number for the whole year, I want to make $50,000 this year. Okay, can you break it down into like a monthly goal or like, okay, this is how much I'd want to make a month. That seems a little more attainable, right? If you can break it down to like, okay, I want 2,500, I want 3,000 a month or whatever. That's a little more attainable in your brain than the big annual number. We're going to get down to the breaking up things a little bit later. Also achievable when you think about like the kind of clients that you want to work with. Think about your demographic. Like who is it that you want, who is it that you currently work with, and who is it that you want to attract, right? What is actually attainable? And some of these things you may feel like, okay, they're not attainable on my own, but if I have help, I can do this. I know that I want to start working with a different clientele, but I don't know how to reach them. Well, there are people out there. I happen to know a few people who could help you reach the clients that you truly want to work with or create relationships with the bridal shops that you really want to gain clients from, or just work on the projects that you want to work on. Some of you, are accepting jobs that you just dread, or maybe you feel in over your head. So this is actually a great example is accepting projects that you feel confident working on only. That's achievable, right? As opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to do like 4 custom gowns and then I'm going to do some like reinventions and in addition to all these alterations. Like sometimes our project goals or our ideas of what we can actually take on as a workload is not attainable. So bring that down. Maybe you're just accepting some standard straps, hem, and a bustle. Like have that be your baseline and just take like 1 custom gown a year or 2 gown reinventions or something to keep it simple. And then once you know how you can achieve that in a year and not die, then maybe you can expand your offerings or open up your portfolio to more custom stuff down the road, but have your workload be achievable. Okay. So is this kind of helping of sometimes we just want to bite off more than we can chew because we get so excited. And I am totally like that. And so thinking of taking a step back and simplifying can almost feel like defeat. Like I might as well give up now because I'm just taking on easy stuff. No, you're gauging what you can take on and what money that brings in and what time that gives you at home. And it's like kind of like a fresh start on a new experiment on your life in 2024, like how to balance the work and the money and the time. I feel like I'm going in a little rabbit trail here, but I hope that all makes sense with creating achievable goals. And I can't recommend that book enough, Atomic Habits. It's just, if you've already read it or if you listen to it again. It's like, what, a 3 hour audiobook. So it's definitely worth your time just to reestablish, well, those habits. Reestablish the habit of making good habits. Okay, moving on to relevant. I feel like I don't need to like really dive into this one because it makes sense. The R of SMART is relevant. So obviously you want to make goals that have to do with your business, that have to do with your personal home life, that have to do with your family and you and your own dreams. Okay, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to dive into this, again, just download that homework guide and there'll be some questions and prompts to talk more about how to establish relevant goals. But I'm sure you already know what that's like. Okay. Maybe you can even think like, okay, you want to have more tools in your sewing space. If you aren't going to offer like embroidered veils, don't invest in an embroidery machine. Like, don't have that be your dream goal thing that you're going to purchase, right? If you want to have a stash of fabric to like create veils or custom pieces. Make sure that like the fabric that you're investing in is relevant to the clients you want to attract. So if you want to be attracting high-end clients, you don't want to invest in like low-end material. You know what I'm saying? Or like chintzy material. I don't know. That was a really lame example, but that's all I got. Okay, I'm going to move on then. So time bound. Time bound is the T of SMART goals. And this is a great, I love this one. Okay. So this is where accountability comes in. I love having accountability partners. You know, it's great to share your goals with other people because you want people who understand the industry to help keep you accountable. You know, my husband, like, he's great. He's great for listening to all the stories and giving support and stuff. But sometimes he just doesn't get it because he's not with the brides. He doesn't know how much things, well, I feel like he does at this point know how much alterations cost and what I charge for everything. But it's nice to have peers who get my goals and they understand like, okay, this is how much money I want to make, but I don't want to come home with this kind of stress, or I don't want to work on these kind of projects. You know, it's like that kind of balance. So with your time bound goals, you are establishing that accountability not for like the whole year, but with different amounts of time. So you can have like quarterly goals. You can, like, a great goal would be like a quarterly goal would be to have your taxes prepared quarterly. My bookkeeper is always like, okay, pay into your taxes throughout the year instead of having to do this lump sum every year. You know what I'm saying? So I just started doing that this past year and that was a great feeling. So, okay, that'd be a great way to quarterly, you get your numbers together, you pay your state taxes if you need to pay, you know, pay out your federal taxes. And then you have your numbers organized quarterly and you can keep track of your income quarterly. You may have a monthly time bound goal, like you want to see, you know, 20 brides within the first 4 months of the year or whatever, or like you want to have, you know, 5 brides a month or whatever. So it can be like monthly goals that are separated into chunks of time, or you can think of it as like, by this time, I have succeeded, da, 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 or by this time, by this date, I have accrued this much money or whatever. So the time bounds are really fun to play with because it gives you like a date in mind. It's not just this like throwing out in the universe and like, who knows what's actually going to happen. It's like you can establish the date, you have accountability with people who know what those dates are, and that gives you something to work towards. So you can play with this in different ways. Like I mentioned, the tax breakdown, that gives you a date where like you have to update your numbers and really take a good look at your data up to that point, or your data. How do you say it? Data? I don't know. Depends on my mood. I think I said it a couple different ways just this podcast episode. So that'd be a good one with your taxes. Or you could, if you want to introduce like custom pieces into your line or have like semi-customs, you could have like, okay, by March, I want to have like one custom piece completed. By July, I want to have 2 custom pieces created. You know what I'm saying? So you can play with it that way. For your personal, your home examples, you could have like a certain amount of books that you want to read or new recipes you want to try. I think it's super healthy to have some fun goals you sprinkled in with your business goals, right? Because you're still a human being. So it's fun to have that kind of stuff. Or you could have like workout goals. That's a whole different ballgame. And I'm not a pro at that. So we can talk about that later, but with somebody else on the podcast and then me. But you can have, your workout goals or whatever, things that you want to run this distance or lift this amount or whatever. Like there's so many cool ways to use the time bound. As you can see, this one gets me jazzed. So I love the time bound thing. Okay, and the final one that I added on for kicks and giggles is sustainable. So this kind of goes back up to achievable, like, can it actually be done? I think for us as seamstresses, we have so much work that we have to do unless, of course, you're hiring a staff. I feel like with our listeners, most of our listeners, you're independent seamstresses, and you have, from what I hear, from what you share with me, you have assistants helping with scheduling or like the back end stuff, but a majority of you are the number one seamstresses. So you have these goals of who you want to work with or what kind of money you want to make or what kind of projects you want to take on, but you have to think about how sustainable this is for one person to handle. So with our line of work, it can be normal for us to have like a really busy season. Like I know for me, the month of June is always super crazy because July is a huge wedding month around here in the Pacific Northwest. June is super busy. I have long hours. I see a lot of brides, but it's like, okay, 1 month, so I feel like, okay, July, I book so many brides in July. So I know that like June's gonna be busy. If I can book them earlier, if they're those kind of people who they've been the same weight since middle school, I'll see them earlier and get them out the door sooner, whatever. But I know it's just a month. That would not be sustainable for me to keep that type of work, for 9 months or even 3 months. It's like, no, you get one, June, that's it. And then at the end of June, 4th of July, we usually have family out here. So it's like my big time off work, whatever. And then the same thing for you guys. If I know like September is pretty busy for me, and I know that September, October is a huge time for like us, the East Coast seamstresses. So consider these goals and be honest with yourself if it is sustainable. We may have some short seasons where it's like, okay, we're going to get the meal delivery, or my husband knows I'm doing nothing around the house. As soon as I come back from work, I'm on the couch. I'm not doing laundry. We kind of have that deal. Like, okay, we have a short season where it's like we need all the help we can get, and then I'm just pushing through, and then like the rest of the years is fine. It's a normal schedule, whatever. And that's what I chose because I feel like July is such a big moneymaker for us. So I'm like, okay, that's an even trade, whatever. But I could never do that for more than a month. And so whatever your busy season is, that should just be like a busy. And when I say busy, like maybe I'm working 10 hours a day, like 5 days a week. 2 weeks a month of the month of June. You know what I mean? So even my busiest month is not like I can't breathe, I can't live. It just is really busy for me, and that's the busiest that I want to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to look different for everybody. I know some of you have the superhero strength and you can sew till 2 o'clock in the morning and you can have like 50 brides a month and you can keep your eyes open that long. Like I can't. So I'm like, I know my limits. It's all relative. So what's busy for me might not be busy for you, and what's busy for you might be like death for me. So if the June is my busy month and I know it's not sustainable for me for the whole year. So just keep that in mind of the kind of projects that you're taking on, the amount of brides that you're taking on, like, is it sustainable? You might think, oh yeah, I'd love to have 20 brides a month. Okay, for how many months? Do you want to have 20 brides a month for like your busy season or for like 2 months out of the year so you can, kind of up your quota that way? Or like, I'm hoping that's not like going to be your goal for 9 to 10 months out of the year, right? So just think about those kind of things. Like, what is actually sustainable? What can you actually handle? I know we briefly talked about custom work and things like that. And we had a podcast episode recently with Laura Knight, and she talks about the intensity of like designing a line and designing bespoke gowns and all these things. Like it is such a big time commitment and an energy commitment. So be realistic and kind of going back up to like, is it achievable? Right. And is it sustainable for like a long time? Because if you are the sole seamstress in your business and you are the one who has to get their dresses done and get them out the door, that is a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And so make sure it is sustainable for like the whole year, especially if you're pre-booking. You think like, oh, like I feel like I have so much energy in the month of February because I've been like rested and I'm like, yeah, I can take on all you people. I love this job, and then like I can overbook my September because I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a great money making month. And then I forget that like by the time September comes around, I'm actually tired and I don't want to see 15 brides that month. I want like 8. You know what I'm saying? So think about where you're going to be. Again, think about that, like the time bound, your backwards goal planning. Think of this whole year, the full spectrum of the year, and where are you going to be in August, September, October, and is your workload going to be sustainable that long? Just because you're feeling all fat and sassy after Christmas, and you're all rested, and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, are you going to feel that way at the end of the year? Also, how are your pre-bookings coming? I feel like finally the message is coming across, and like brides around here are booking early. I'm like, it happened last year, and this year I'm getting a lot of them too. So I'm like, okay, okay, the word is getting out, because I would see so many seamstresses that are like, I'm booked a year in advance. And I'm like, what? Like, it just is not like that around here. But I guess we're kind of catching on. So it's helpful as I have my goals in mind, and I can, book out the year with the type of work that I know that I want to take on, the kind of brides that I want to see, the stores, the designers that I want to work with. These were all included in my goals, right? I have a certain amount of money that I want to make, and I know the way that I want to make money, right? Okay, so consider all of these little tips as you are putting together your goals for 2024. I would love to hear any ideas that you have in mind of what kind of work you want to accept, the brides you want to see, the designers you want to work with, or stores that you want to work with, the money you want to make. What do you want to do in your home? What do you want to make sure that you have time for? What about like those vacations that you want to take, right? Include all of those things on your goals. And I'm excited to hear about that. Within the membership, we are diving even deeper into goal planning, and we're talking about vision boards. And there's actually a very specific way to build a vision board. And it's not just getting some pictures together, putting them on a board, looking at them. There's a way to select what belongs on the board, how to choose pictures with a certain, like what should be your point of view as you are choosing these photos, and then how do you work through the board throughout the year, continually like renewing that mindset and working through whatever issues come up as you see those pictures. So there's kind of like a lot that goes into creating an effective vision board. And we just had that training in this past month, the month of December, so we could look forward to 2024. And that recording is available within the membership if you would like to delve in even for the first few months of the year to like get these goals established. That could be a great decision. So if you're not ready for that commitment, you can at least start with this download. It is free and it comes with a bunch of journaling prompts so you can get these goals on paper. You can also like use these journal prompts for each category of the goals that you'll be working on. You'll see it all if you click on it. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful start to your new year, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen within our industry in 2024 and just how the data is going to be changing with the engagement gap, closing. And it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time to be within our industry. So let me know what you have on your list of goals. I would love to hear from you. Okay, have a wonderful week and cheers to new goals.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And if you're feeling really generous, leave a review. Thanks, everyone.